Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Breachers, a 5v5 tactical shooter developed by Triangle Factory. It takes some of the best features of games like CSGO and R6 Siege and combines that with its own flavor to create an awesome virtual reality only first-person shooter. Before we continue, I would like to thank the developers of Breachers for sponsoring this video and helping to pay the bills. Make sure to click the link at the top of the description to check out the game on the Meta App Store. Before we dive deeper into Breachers, I quickly want to also mention Hyperdash, which is made by Triangle Factory as well. Where Breachers is a slower tactical shooter, Hyperdash is a lot more fast-paced with modes like Capture the Flag and Deathmatch. You'll be jumping around and riding zip lines in the style of more casual shooters, however it's of course all still in VR. Hyperdash is a free-to-play game and might be a good way to introduce yourself to the VR shooter scene, however if you want that real tactical gameplay, you gotta try Breachers. Now let's get some of the basic stuff out of the way first. You'll have to use customizable weapons, gadgets, and some cunning to beat your opponents in Breachers. As an attacking enforcer, it's your job to breach the objective site and defuse bombs with the EMP device. The defending revolters, who have armed the bombs, will obviously be trying to defend them via any means possible. The attacking enforcers can rappel up and down the sides of buildings, something that takes a bit to get used to as it does throw around your view quite a bit. However, once you get used to it, it's a cool mechanic that makes you feel like a real action hero, jumping feet first into battle, John McClane style. The main mode of Breachers is the bomb defusal mode. Each player starts with 900 credits, and these credits are spent on guns, upgrading them as well as buying gadgets and grenades. The gadgets you can buy and select depend on whether you are attacking or defending. The attackers, for example, can get little recon drones, useful for doing recon ahead of your planned infiltration route or to distract an enemy defender, allowing a teammate to push in unseen. Breaching foam does pretty much what it says on the tin. You spray it on a breachable surface, you stand back, and then blow it up, creating different sightlines and rotations throughout the map, hopefully giving you the edge. The attackers can also use a cloaking device, which it won't make you completely invisible, it'll definitely make you harder to detect when moving and very hard to detect when stationary. The defenders, on the other hand, use gadgets like door blockers, proximity sensors, and tripwires to spot, slow down, or injure attackers. The proximity sensor doesn't need too much explaining. After activating it, it will warn you when an enemy walks through its activation range. The tripwire is a cheeky little explosive that you can stick onto a wall. After activating it, if the laser is interrupted, you will not want to be caught in that blast radius. The door blocker, as the name implies, will block hostiles from entering rooms until they have destroyed it. Grenades, however, can be rolled underneath, so make sure to keep your distance. Teammates can run through these barriers, allowing for some cheeky plays. Onto the guns. You can select different sidearms as well as submachine guns, rifles, and shotguns. Each of these has viable upgrades and attachments like suppressors, toggleable lasers, different sights, extended mags, and more. Alright, so here is the buy menu of guns and gadgets for the attacker's side. Let's take a look at the Taurus. We select it, we grab it, we can choose a laser as well as one of two sights. Now this isn't a lot of choices, so let's just throw it off to the side. Take a look at the Omen SMG. Omen, as you can see, have a suppressor on there, a laser, also extended mags for a little bit more ammo capacity, as well as a front grip, and again, two different sights, just a little bit easier on keeping your recoil in check. Last but not least, let's check out a shotgun, the Huracan, which actually has been quite effective for me. Not a lot of upgrades because this thing is kind of silly. Laser, always useful in a shotgun, and of course, one of two sights, which you can see, it actually removes the iron sights from the rail on top. Something to keep in mind is that though Breachers might seem mostly designed for a PvP, in the bomb defusal mode, there are two other modes, Team Deathmatch and Control Point. Now, Team Deathmatch should really need no further explanation, but in Control Point, you have to capture and hold certain rooms on the map, keeping them clear from enemies. Talking about maps, the developers have a detailed layout of every in-game map on their website. Studying these might help you learn the maps a little bit faster. Now, furthermore, besides a tutorial, which I'd highly recommend for new players to absolutely do first, you can check out each map and game mode offline against bot enemies as well. In this offline mode, you can pick what side to start on, and how many enemy and friendly bots you want to have in your game. You can have up to 4 friendly and 5 enemy bots in your game, whose difficulty you can select from easy to normal and hard. However, all of this is really just to prepare you for actual multiplayer gameplay against human enemies. It is, however, a good way to get used to the map layouts, learn sneaky spots, and get used to the weapon recoil and gadget usage. If you want to get together with some friends but not sweat in PvP multiplayer, you can also host private sessions and play with or against your friends, and with or without bots supporting either side. Again, I don't feel like Breachers is really designed to be played in co-op only, and the real experience is that PvP 5v5 tactical gameplay. The co-op aspect or even the single player aspect is definitely something worth checking out. Besides the gadgets and guns, there are also a few throwables as well as a healing syringe. Though less high tech than a flying camera drone or a cloaking device, the frag, incendiary, and smoke grenade are of course important tools as well, whether it's dislodging a well-entrenched enemy with a frag grenade, blocking off a flank with an incendiary grenade, or using smoke to plant or defuse the EMP. They all have their use. The syringe can be used both on your own character or on a teammate, as the name implies, which will allow you to play as a makeshift medic for your team or just to heal yourself. All of the gear I talked about above, the guns, gadgets, and grenades, will drop on the ground after you or someone else dies. This means that if you are poor or maybe just very frugal, you can pick up weapons, gadgets, and grenades for free up from other people. After the round ends, you have a few seconds to loot at your leisure, stocking up on anything you might have used during the round. Keep in mind, you can actually drop anything you buy or pick up to a teammate, which obviously helps keep their spending down. However, attacker and defender specific gadgets are locked to their side and cannot be picked up by the other faction. Now, Breachers recently released their competitive update, which will match you against equally skilled opponents. You can queue either by yourself or as part of a pre-made group. What's nice is that while the game is searching for a match, you aren't locked into a search screen. Instead, you can jump into some team deathmatch, set up your skins, or go out on the range and practice your aim. Now, when a match has been found, the whole lobby gets to vote on the map they'd like to play on, and these competitive matches cannot end in a draw, so when the score ends up being tied, the higher scoring team is allowed to vote whether they want to defend or attack in the final deciding round. After finishing 5 placement matches, you will get your rank. Every game after that, win or loss, will also impact your rank placement, from bronze, silver, gold, and platinum to Diamond, Master, Grandmaster, and finally Global Champion. Ranking up gives you skins and credits which can be used in the in-game store. Lastly, I actually really appreciate how the developers of Breachers view people who leave or rage quit competitive matches as a pretty serious issue. They'll issue you with skill point penalties that'll grow with repeated offenses, as well as not allowing you to connect to any other online game as long as the match that you abandoned is still ongoing. This is something some other competitive games should definitely consider looking into. Now, Breachers has 8 maps, with Dam being their most recent one, which literally released only a few days ago. Giant turbines and generators break up sightlines at the industrial levels, with desks and server stacks forming the backdrop of battles on the top level. Whether you sneakily crawl through ventilation shafts or jump feet first into a window after rappelling down the side of the building, that is up to you. As part of the update the Dam map came with, the developers also introduced the Death Recap feature. When you get killed, you can review what transpired, where your killer was in relation to you, as well as what body parts were hit, how much damage they took, and what weapons were used to do it. I would like to say that I can get quite lost in the so-called virtual reality sauce. After a few minutes, you forget that what you see isn't actually there, especially in the heat of the moment in Breachers, and a few elbows and knuckles were definitely scuffed for recording this as I walked into some walls and furniture. So keep that in mind if you are a bit VR inexperienced like myself. I'd also like to add that the community for the game was generally quite nice, though in my first session most people seemed to play without a microphone, sadly. In the next game I said I was new and immediately started getting tips and a list of do's and don'ts. I would definitely recommend playing a bunch of offline against bots first. I was quite confident in my abilities after doing the tutorial and one training. However, the real deal against human opponents is a whole different beast and honestly very challenging. Breachers only released about a year ago, and they've since then doubled their map pool by releasing 4 new maps. With the release of the competitive mode and Season 0, as they call it, only 2 months ago, the future of Breachers looks quite promising. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, a huge shout out to the developers of the game for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel, and make sure to check out the link in the description to buy the game.